As a teenager, he beat a grown teammate 80-12. In a game to 100. He recorded a rap album with Nas and 50 Cent. He had himself waterboarded by Navy SEALs just to train his mind. He scored 81 points in a single game. And then, after basketball, he won an Academy Award. These are the Kobe Bryant stories most people have never heard. The real Mamba Mentality, story by story. Let's get into it. It started before he ever turned pro. In high school, Kobe was already dragging teammates into dawn workouts and using them as test dummies. One of them, Rob Schwartz, played him one-on-one to 100. The most Rob ever scored was 12. Kobe usually got to 80 before Rob hit a single shot. Then Kobe skipped college, signed a $48 million Adidas deal before playing a single NBA minute. And when the Nets tried to draft him, his camp threatened them until he slipped to 13th and forced his way to the Lakers. He was engineering his legend before it even began. But here's the story that built the Mamba. In the 1997 playoffs, an 18-year-old Kobe got the ball in crunch time against Utah and shot 4 air balls. 4. He airballed his team out of the playoffs on national television. Most teenagers would be crushed. Kobe flew home, and the legend goes, he went straight to a gym and shot through the night and through the entire summer. He didn't run from the most embarrassing moment of his young career. He used it as fuel. That is the exact moment the killer was born. His work ethic became mythology. As a rookie, he was the first one in the gym, so early the lights weren't even on yet, shooting in the dark. Teammates described watching him dribble and shoot with no ball at all for an hour, drilling the motion, then walk onto the court and do the exact same move flawlessly. While the league slept, Kobe was already 3 hours into his day. He didn't just want to be great. He was willing to be lonelier and more obsessed than anyone alive to get there. When Kobe broke his shooting wrist in 1999, a teammate figured he'd finally beat Kobe to the gym. Instead, he walked into the sound of a bouncing ball and found Kobe in a full sweat, dribbling and shooting with his left hand. Within days, he was draining left-handed threes and challenged that teammate to a shooting game with his offhand. He nearly won. 16 years later, after tearing his shoulder, a 40-year-old Kobe checked back into the game and shot lefty again and made it. Normal never applied to him. Here's one almost nobody knows. The Black Mamba name was never meant for Kobe. Nike designed a sleek, laceless shoe that looked like a snake, and marketers looked up the deadliest one, the Black Mamba. They built the whole campaign and pitched it to their biggest star, Michael Jordan. But Jordan was terrified of snakes. He once grounded his sons for putting fake ones in his bed. He killed it instantly. Then Kobe saw Kill Bill, heard the line about the Black Mamba, and claimed it. He said it himself, "When I step on that court, I become that killer snake." And he hunted his opponents like a predator. After Allen Iverson dropped 41 on him, Kobe didn't just watch highlights. He obsessively studied every game Iverson ever played, going back to high school, searching for any weakness. He even studied how great white sharks hunt seals because he wanted to attack Iverson the same way. He had Nike shave millimeters off his shoes for a faster reaction time. He lost 16 pounds before an Olympics to save his knees. He prepared for the finals a full year before they started. Nothing about him was an accident. At the 2012 Olympics, a trainer says Kobe wanted to add cycling, not a stationary bike, real cycling, at 4:30 in the morning, in the desert, on purpose, because he wanted the most uncomfortable conditions possible. He rode out before sunrise in brutal heat, then showed up to the actual team practice first, as always, after sleeping less than 4 hours. Other players heard about it and asked to come. The trainer told them, "No, you don't." Kobe wasn't competing with them. He was competing with the very idea of a limit. His feel for the game was almost supernatural. During one pregame warm-up, a rookie watched Kobe keep missing and figured the great one was just having an off day. Kobe didn't. He was so sure of his own shot that he told the staff the rim itself was wrong. They brought out a ladder and a measuring tape. The rim was 1/4 of an inch too low, exactly like he said. He didn't doubt his shooting for even a second. He doubted the basket, and he was right. And he could be genuinely cold. When he accidentally broke Roy Hibbert's nose with an elbow, Hibbert came to him expecting an apology. Kobe just stared and said, "You should have got out the way." For 2 entire seasons, he shared a locker room with starting guard Smush Parker and reportedly never once said good morning to him because he didn't think Smush belonged. And Shaq once admitted the team had a secret hand signal just to tell each other not to pass Kobe the ball. He wasn't here to make friends. He was here to win. His pain tolerance became legend. He once told a trainer that after watching the movie Saw, he was certain he could dig out his own eye to survive. And in 2013, he tore his Achilles tendon, the most agonizing injury in sports. He reached down and tried to physically push the torn tendon back into place so he could keep playing. Then, on a completely ruptured Achilles, he calmly stepped to the free throw line, made both free throws, and only then walked off the court under his own power. Who does that? Which brings us to the night he touched basketball immortality. January 22nd, 2006. Against Toronto, Kobe scored 81 points. 81 by himself. It's the second most points any human has ever scored in an NBA game, behind only Wilt Chamberlain's 100. He outscored the entire Toronto team that night almost on his own. For one evening, one man became a basketball cheat code, and the building simply could not believe what it was watching. But maybe the most disrespectful scoring night came a month earlier against Dallas. Through 3 quarters, Kobe had 62 points. The entire Dallas Mavericks team had 61. One man was beating a whole NBA roster by himself with a quarter still to play. And then he sat down. He didn't even play the fourth. He had already made his point, shattered their spirit, and decided the game was over. That is a level of casual cruelty the sport had rarely ever seen. And the competitiveness never switched off at anything. A reporter beat him at ping pong once, and Kobe demanded rematch after rematch, taking a friendly game so seriously, the reporter said it was more intense than the Division I sport he'd played. And the wildest one, in a rare nightclub appearance, another famous customer kept ordering bottles to show off. Kobe noticed, so he told the manager to bring every single bottle of Cristal in the building, over 40 of them, running up a $100,000 tab he barely drank, purely so he could win. He could not lose at anything. But here's the contradiction that made him human. On the court, he was a loner who said he had only 4 real friends in 20 years and didn't even invite his teammates to his wedding. Off the court, with strangers, he was the opposite. He once chatted with a Disneyland worker for 10 minutes, then remembered his name 6 months later. Limo drivers said he was the most genuine star they ever met, asking about their families and tipping huge. As a rookie, he ran out on a beer run with a young Jimmy Fallon. There were 2 Kobes, and most people only ever met one. And he was an artist too. In 2000, he recorded a 16-track rap album called Visions with Nas, 50 Cent, and Destiny's Child, and even performed at the All-Star Game. His label got cold feet and shelved it. Spike Lee wanted him to star in He Got Game, but Kobe was too locked in on basketball and turned it down. And to decompress after brutal losses, this ruthless competitor would sit at a piano and play Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, which he taught himself entirely by ear. The same mind that destroyed opponents could create beauty. And underneath all of it, he was a father, completely. He timed those brutal 4:30 a.m. workouts so he'd be finished and back home by the time his daughters woke up. He and Vanessa refused to use nannies, doing the work themselves. When he was home, the killer disappeared, and he was just a dad watching cartoons on the couch. The same relentless focus he aimed at basketball, he poured into being present for his girls. That was the whole point of the obsession, to win, and then to be there. And then he did the thing nobody saw coming. After retiring in 2016, Kobe wrote a love letter to the game called Dear Basketball and turned it into a short animated film. In 2018, that film won the Academy Award for Best Animated Short, an Oscar. Kobe Bryant became the first professional athlete in history to win one. Think about that. The same man who shot 4 air balls at 18, who shot in the dark before sunrise, took that exact obsession into a brand new arena and conquered Hollywood on the first try. The Oscar wasn't a fluke. It was the Mamba Mentality pointed at a new target. He launched a studio and wrote a series of young adult sports books that hit #1 on the bestseller lists. He was fluent in Italian from his childhood, spoke Spanish, and would cold call the most brilliant people he could find: designers, CEOs, storytellers, sometimes in the middle of the night, just to pick their brains. One business partner said he'd text at 3 a.m. and get a reply in a minute, and realized Kobe was as obsessed as he was. He never stopped being a student. And of course, he scripted the perfect ending. In his very last NBA game, a 20-year-old body running on legend alone, Kobe scored 60 points. 60. In the final game of his career, nobody goes out like that. It was so absurd, it didn't feel real. And he's so singular that his team retired 2 different jersey numbers for him. The 8 he wore as a young killer, and the 24 he wore as a master. 2 numbers, 2 whole careers, 1 man. No one else in franchise history has that. So what do all these stories actually add up to? Not just talent, obsession, aimed with total precision at whatever was in front of him. Basketball, fatherhood, filmmaking, a piano, a nightclub tab. It was all the same fire. That's what Mamba Mentality really meant. Not being the most gifted, but being the most relentless, the most curious, and the most unwilling to lose. It's why years later, we're still telling these stories. Because the world has produced a lot of great players, it has produced almost no one built like Kobe Bryant. So which of these stories got you the most? The 4 air balls that built him? The 81 points? Or the Oscar nobody saw coming? Drop it in the comments because I read every single one. And if you want more legends decoded like this, subscribe to Good Basketball. One story every week. Real history, real stakes, real basketball.